Hi, I'm Elisa,
I'm Ben.
and this is E for You. Today we have, our topic for the day is education, and we are honored with a guest from Creative Action today. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks for having me. First of all, my name is Patrick Torres. I'm the executive director at Creative Action. I've been there since January.
Cool. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're honored to have you on our podcast today. We're going to go ahead and start with Yuppers.
Yeah.
So, Yuppers is a segment where you're going to talk about something that you really like or you want to highlight from your weekend. I don't know. Do you want to go ahead?
Sure. I can do two things?
Yeah, anything.
Great. Awesome. The first one is I'm reading a book called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And it's so good. Like, I can't put it down. And it's been a while for me. I love to read. Mm-hmm. It's been a while for me where I've had a book where I just you just have to keep going and have to keep reading it. I've been staying up way too late to try to finish it. But it really is about it's just this cool exploration. It's about young people who design video games. And it's about how creativity in your life intersect and how, you can use that medium to tell the story of your own life. And it just such a beautiful, the characters are great. It's such a beautiful story. So there's that one. And then, moving back to Austin, I've lived here before. And I went away for 8 years to run a theater in Raleigh, North Carolina. And coming back, I'm getting back immersed into Austin and the culture in Austin. And the Black Pumas just released a new song off of their new album.
So good.
Have you heard this new song?
I don't know. Is it the same song?
It is so good. I'm blanking on the name, of course. More Than a Love Song. That's what it's called. And I cannot stop listening to that. So those are my two yuppers for this week. For sure.
Okay, those are pretty good ones.
After the episode.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I can't see
do that.
Yeah, Ben, your yuppers.
I've been listening to Guts by Olivia Rodrigo nonstop. It came out this past week. I played it at my apartment when you were over there.
Yeah, that's not sleeping time music. That's
we were gonna take a nap, and I was like, let me put this on, and then it's rock and pop music. But,
Have you heard it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have a 13-year-old daughter.
Okay, so you get it. Yeah,
we like to crank it up and drive through our neighborhood.
Okay.
Exactly. All American Bitch is the one song I've been on repeat.
Yeah, I think mine would probably be going to it's Mexican Heritage Month, so we had went to quite a few Mexican heritage events, and it was just very different and eye-opening to be in those spaces where there were people like me, and just seeing them out there, because I don't think I really see any of the Latino community here that much as whenever we went to the events, and so I really enjoyed that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that. Yeah. So now we have some questions for you.
Great.
So the first question we have is, what does education mean to Creative Action?
It's such a good question. I think for Creative Action, education for us is about connecting to who you are, to your voice, to your point of view, and it's about participation. It's about a process of discovering your voice and who you are. We use the arts to do that. And then the purpose for us of that education of this belief, this building of confidence that allows you to be creatively expressive or critically think about something that you're seeing and then wanting to make something out of it, is about then the larger connection to the world around you. So for us, education is a process of becoming you, who you really are, and having the confidence to know that who you are matters. And then you can also help build the world that you want to see. So for us, education is not just receiving information. Education is getting your hands in it and wrestling with big questions and thoughts and ideas in order to become who you are and to be able to impact your world positively.
Yeah, I think that really leads straight into the second question we had, which is in what ways are the schools, the school systems preparing young people for the world, and in what ways are they not preparing young people?
Yeah, I think it's so hard, the system of education and of trying to accomplish everything that you need to accomplish to educate a human being who's growing up, and who is in this constant state of becoming. I think we don't really ever finish that, but we're really focused on it in the school years. And I think that, one of the things that schools have to do is they have to prepare people with knowledge and information in order to be successful, in order to, just have the knowledge to execute a life plan or to move out into the world. So I get frustrated by the second part of the question about what is education not doing. There is such a focus on tests, right, and standardized testing and things like that. And I understand the pressure teachers are under. I mean, God love teachers for everything they have to go through, but to teach people to the test and to get all that kind of information in and to meet all these standards, I do understand why. I do understand that like there is a certain amount of information that we kind of collectively as a society have decided like is important to know. I think where we miss is not having students participate in the discovery of information, not having students participate themselves in like the pedagogy, right? And so I think at Creative Action, we're inspired by Pedagogy of the Oppressed, which was a book written by Paulo Freire, where he was talking about this, what we're talking about, like that just banking information is insufficient and students really need to be participants in their learning. I think that the world that we're moving into as well, like I've been saying this a lot kind of in different circles, that teaching to test to me feels insufficient because we all have devices now that when we need information, we can look it up. Yeah. And so I really feel like one of the things that I love about the arts and what we do at Creative Action is I think the arts inherently teach discernment. Right? They teach investigation. They teach point of view, what inspired an artist to create something. And you look at a piece of art and you wonder, what was it they were reflecting on? And it's an active way of seeing the world and being in the world. And I think that the more that technology, which I think is a good thing, of course it can be used for bad, but I think that like I want my kids to learn how to discern what is useful information and what isn't. And I think that piece of education is missing right now. And I think the arts really help fill that gap.
Oh, I was going to ask you, like, how far into education does Creative Action go? Like, do they go into schools or like, how do they go into the education system?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do it many different ways. And the company was founded on these interactive theater tours, which were based on theater of the oppressed. So our pedagogy of the oppressed, theater of the oppressed, same idea. Augusto Boal, who was the person who really coined theater of the oppressed, he was saying, well, theater is also insufficient if you're just asking the audience to be passive. So what he did was he would present a conflict, like, all plays deal with conflict. And he would present a conflict up to the moment of choice, like a climactic moment for the audience. And then he would stop the play. The actors would just stop and he'd be like, okay, well, what do we do? And so, this woman, like at this one moment stood up and he couldn't really understand what she was saying, but she was like really fervent, like this is what needs to happen. And he couldn't understand to make the actors like do it. So he's like, just come up here. So she came up on stage and participated in the resolution of the conflict. And so like he started going, that's theater. Like, let's get the audience participating in the solution of the problem. And then that's like an expansive way to really think about the impact of theater. And so that's Creative Action started. It was originally called Theater Action Project, and it was school tours. And so Courage to Stand is our oldest program, which is an anti-bullying tour. So it's the same thing where it's a 5-day program. So students watch it all 5 days and they see bullying situations and they learn about bullying situations throughout history. And then they intervene. They figure out together how they're going to stop the bullying situation. So that's one of our programs, and that's in schools. We have different ones of those for all ages that we tour during the school day. We do a lot of out of school time programming, so after school programs for students, both sites that we run and also sites that we partner with people to deliver the out of school time programming. We are fully embedded in Lee Lewis Campbell Elementary School, so we're part of their school day. We are working with the teachers to deliver arts-rich content and to help with the standardized learning that's happening. So we're just embedded in their whole day, and then we also have after school there. Then we have teen programming, and teen programming is really where young people come to us in theater, film, and visual art. and they wrestle with big social topics and social issues, and they create based on their own personal interests and what is speaking to them and what they want to talk about. And then we also have intergenerational learning, so we kind of cover all ages. And then a big thing for us is our community program. So we're also out in the community offering different experiences for folks. So we really we believe that people need access to arts in all the capacities that they have and in all the ways that they interact with their world. And so we try to fill that for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you had anything else you wanted to expand on, like the next question was, what programs does Creative Action offer, and like what purposes are they serving? So
yeah,
it sounds like y'all go way beyond like just the schools, which was
we
my
do.
understanding.
I think for me, like the ideal scenario, I mean, I think for a lot of education nonprofits, this is probably true, but for me, it'd be like so great to like have a kid start our programs at 4 or 5 years old and then just continue through early adulthood. And so I think if you're on that path, we really like the goal for our programs is to create what we call 4C students. And that's confident leaders, creative artists, critical thinkers, and courageous allies. And so we really like all of our programs are aimed at like building those skill sets in students. We also really believe that is like really helping to develop future work skills. If you can really exemplify all of those characteristics. And so I think I'll focus, because I kind of already explained the programming, I'll talk about one of the programs that I get really excited about as a theater person is our Changing Lives Youth Theater Ensemble. And that is a group of high school teenage students who come together, and that's a partnership with Safe Alliance. So they come together and they write a play from scratch every year as a group, the students, about the spectrum of dating violence, right? So it could be, how to look for abusive signs in a relationship, but it also, like last year, they were exploring like, who's your support system? So they really look at that spectrum, and they're educated by Safe Alliance in order to do that. I just love that program because it is such a partnership that is so meaningful, and it allows us to have a very specific purpose, which is then they tour that original play to middle schools. So they're writing it for a middle school audience to say, this is what you should look out for as you start to become people who are interested in dating. These are things you should know. It's a really awesome program.
Okay,
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, like as a young child, like young, I guess adult, I don't know. You're in that weird little age, and like just having that influence of seeing other people act that out and kind of tell you, that would be really impactful. Yeah, I see what you mean.
I can imagine like middle schoolers are probably more receptive to getting that information from high schoolers than like necessarily like adults too, because I think, at least in my experience, like middle schoolers are kind of in that more like rebellious age, but there's not necessarily that rebellion against like high schoolers. Like it's more, you still kind of look up to people that age. So I feel like it's really cool, that they're definitely like kind of bridging that gap too, and it's not just like a bunch of adults come and tell these middle school kids like, oh, this is what you should look out for. Like, it sounds a lot more meaningful and like connective than that. So
yeah, I think so too. It's peer-to-peer learning, right? And I think that is like so critical, because we don't, like I was saying, we don't often get that experiences in our classrooms, in our schools, where the people in your peer group are helping you wrestle with a topic and an idea. It feels a little bit safer to do that with people who you relate to.
So why is education important specifically to the city of Austin?
Well, I think that Austin is, it's like a national leader in culture and in art. I think especially in the middle of Texas, like it has a very distinct voice in our state, Austin. It's also like a great, area for tech. And I think that education here, I think really sets people up for success. When you really like, one of the things, I guess this could have been one of my yuppers that I've been looking at a lot lately is this future work skill development. And I think the opportunity that exists in Austin to really engage in a whole life that is meaningful and that you are equipped to do really solid work exists here. Because when you look at that stuff, it's like sense making, it's like media literacy, the ability to like to work across many disciplines, you know. And I think we have such a rich community. Even what y'all are doing here. I mean, like, as the future develops, there's a lot of futurists who think there's going to be less and less text-based information that's given. It'll be podcasts and it'll be video. And like an example might be it might be rare to walk into a company and be handed like an employee handbook, as opposed to there's probably going to be a video that you watch about what it means to work for that company or things like that. And so the more that young people are able to feel confident making and interacting with digital media, and they have the facility to do it, and on the other side of it, not just making it, but on the other side of it, the ability to interpret what something means when it's being said to you, to discern whether it's trustworthy or not, and all of that stuff is a critical piece of what the future work environment will require. And so I think Austin is really well equipped with the nonprofit community that we have, the tech industry we have, with the cultural and arts community that we have, to get people thinking beyond like a really, to information, just only information, but we're actually equipped to put the skills in people's hands to be makers. I think that's going to be super important in the future.
Yeah, I think that's what like E4 is doing right now, where they're learning all these things. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Carl, he knows he's teaching us, and we're like, wow. And going out and teaching other people how to use those tools and to their advantage, especially people like us that like are minorities,
Absolutely,
is so impactful.
Yeah, and the employment that is in that, like I'm a big fan of E4 and what's going on. I think it's when you look at that future work skills stuff, I mean, the things that are happening at this company, like Creative Action, I think it's just really equipping people for success. I think that we have an opportunity to really change too what the workforce looks like, who the leader, who is in positions of leadership. It's going to be people who can interpret and who can like make things. And so, I mean, even if you're not in a field that's in the arts, it's going to be a part. It already is. It's technology and art is a part of every one of our lives on a daily basis. And the more that we feel confident that we can use those tools and communicate via those tools, the more ready you're going to be for success.
Right. Cool. Well, thank you for coming on to our podcast today, being one of the first few guests that we have interviewed. We really appreciate it. Yeah. Would you like to let the people know where they can find Creative Action or what y'all are doing next? Any big events?
Yeah. Look us up at creativeaction.org. Stick with us on our website, creativeaction.org, and you'll get all the information you need there.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks.